I talk back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center talking to defensive linemen today after Ohio State's fourth practice. I'm Nathan Baird, Stephen Means. We're from cleveland.com. And defensive tackle is where Ohio State is losing some important guys. Haskell Garrett's moving on. Antoine Jackson, who we watched out here at Pro Day, is moving on. They've lost guys on the interior. They've got to fill it in with these young guys, some promising young guys who've been coming into this program. So, Stephen, which defensive tackle does this spring mean the most to?
Tyleik Williams. I mean, we all saw what he did in the Akron and Tulsa game back-to-back. I think he had 4 sacks in those 2 games and then spent most of the season leading the team in sacks, which shows you part of the problem with the defensive line. They weren't getting home. But the problem was, why did he stop playing? Because he literally could not play anymore. He gave it his all for 2 games and was out of there. He came in here at 360 pounds, which caught everybody off guard. He said it himself. COVID got the best of him. He was sitting around eating everything he could find and not necessarily working out. He's down to 317.
Heard.
Yeah. He's down to 317 now, so that's a weight he can play at as a 3 technique. But his biggest problem was he could play 2 plays in a row and play it at a high level, but then he's looking over at the sideline asking Larry Johnson to come out the game, and then he's probably not going back in because he's too tired. Now he says he doesn't have a limit on how many plays he can play. And, yeah, when you're in the interior, you're probably only playing 20 to 30 snaps anyway because that's a lot to take. I mean, we look at a lot of SEC teams who have that motion, but the idea of having an impact player on the interior is something Ohio State hasn't seen a lot in the past, and he showed enough last year. He said his 10-yard burst is 1.65 seconds, which is ridiculous for anybody, especially a 300-pound defensive interior lineman. So it's on him at this point. If he's in shape the way he says he is and he can go without necessarily getting tired, what type of jump can he take in year 2 with the flashes he made in year 1?
I think that trust is important. You hear coaches talk all the time, and we've heard it a lot this spring, whether it was Kevin Wilson's talking about tight ends who are like, well, he's starting to come along. He's starting to show us some things. That consistency is so crucial for, like, developing the trust for a coach. It's why you sometimes see, like, why is that older guy playing over this younger, more promising guy? I think consistency is a big part of that. And along those same lines, I'm going to throw out the name Mike Hall, who I got to talk to for a good chunk today. Came in as a top 50-ish national prospect, like climbed up to being almost like a borderline 5-star guy, but didn't get here until the summer. And unlike JT Tuimoloau from the defensive end group, he didn't make that immediate adjustment. It was a tougher transition for him to college football, and some of that is the pace of everything, the scrutiny of everything, the having to go up against grown men on the offensive line, guys who are about to go to the NFL draft. It was just he wasn't able to come in and just like take things over. Now he's had a full winter in the workout program there. He's now going through his first spring, and this is, I think, a time of the year where you start to see real growth from players like that. And the reason I think he might be the most crucial one is because he's the one with maybe the most untapped talent to this point. We saw the flash from Tyleik Williams. We've seen a little bit from Ty Hamilton, but Ty Hamilton wasn't a guy as a prospect who had the ceiling that people think that Mike Hall might have. And if Mike Hall can come in this year, become a rotation staple, and start to flash towards that ceiling that he has and reach towards that ceiling that they think he has. If he can make a big jump in this second year, I think it makes a huge difference for this defensive line, especially because he played a lot of 3-tech last year. Right now, he's playing a lot of nose guard, and they need a solution at nose guard, I think, for the long term.
I think that's the key. That's part of the reason maybe he didn't play that much, because there's a physical transformation you have to go through when you're playing a position where you're constantly taking on double teams. And if you've ever seen his social media, he lives in the weight room. He looked the part today, and yeah, that's what we saw with Tommy Togiai in 2020, that nose guard who can just be in there taking double teams and still blow up a pocket. If you have that with Mike Hall, that helps everybody else. Jack Sawyer was talking about it. When you've got interior defensive linemen who are flushing the pocket, that just means more sacks for the edge guys because you're flushing them out there to those guys. And then JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, being the athletic ends that they are, can get sacks.
Now, Tommy Togiai was a third-year guy doing that too, and he was also the strongest person that's ever been in this room, I think. And I don't think Mike Hall is quite there yet, but I think he also has some other athletic tools that would maybe help him make a jump too. And we're going to be talking much more about that whole defensive line, everything we heard today on Buckeye Talk. Get it wherever you can find podcasts, and get the text 614-350-3315, $3.99 a month after a 2-week free trial, and you can get the rest of the intel that we hear over the next couple weeks heading into the spring game.